Let me ask you something. When you hear the words financial manager, what's the first image that pops into your head? Is it some meticulous accountant, maybe kind of buried under a mountain of spreadsheets? Well, today, we're going to challenge that whole idea. We're asking, is a financial manager just counting the bricks, or are they the architect who's actually designing the entire building?
So let's kick things off with a fundamental question. What is the single most important goal of any business? Now, you'd probably say to make a profit, right? But what if I told you that common answer isn't just incomplete, but that focusing only on profit can be genuinely dangerous for a company? All right, let's explore the real goal of business, and you'll see why it's probably not what you think. Okay, so this all comes down to a really critical difference. On one hand, you've got profit maximization. Now, that's a short-term game. It can encourage cutting corners, it totally ignores major risks. Plus, let's be honest, accounting profits can be manipulated. But the real goal, that's shareholder wealth maximization. This is the long game. It's all about generating real cash flow, actually accounting for risk, and building sustainable value that's going to last. So how do we even measure this shareholder wealth? Well, the ultimate scorecard is the company's share price. Why? Because a share price isn't just some random number. It's like the market's real-time vote of confidence. It bundles up every single expectation about a company's future earnings, its potential for growth, and all the risks involved. A rising share price means the financial manager is making all the right moves. Okay, so if the goal is to increase shareholder wealth, what's the playbook? How does our financial architect actually go about building that value? Well, it all comes down to their core functions. You can pretty much boil the entire role down to these three critical actions. First, there's planning. They're looking into the future, right? They're creating forecasts and budgets to figure out exactly how much money the company is going to need. Second, investing. They decide where to put that money, which projects to fund, which assets to buy to get the absolute best return. And third, financing. They've got to figure out the smartest way to get that money in the first place, whether it's through taking on debt or issuing more shares.
And it doesn't even stop there. I mean, on top of those big three, they're also juggling the day-to-day cash, making decisions on dividends, managing all kinds of financial risk, and, of course, maintaining those super important relationships with banks and investors. It's a massive, multifaceted job.
But here's the thing, a company doesn't exist in a vacuum. A truly smart financial manager knows that creating long-term value for shareholders requires this incredible balancing act. Shareholders are key, for sure, but they're just one piece of the puzzle. The manager also has to consider employees who want job security, customers who want a reliable product, creditors who need to get repaid, and even the community, which expects good corporate citizenship. You start to neglect any of these groups, and believe me, that long-term shareholder value can start to crumble, and fast. You know, in a perfect world, the manager, who's an employee, always acts in the best interest of the shareholders, the owners. But we don't live in a perfect world. And this introduces a fundamental conflict. What happens when a manager's personal interests just don't align with the company's goals? This is called the agency problem. It's that built-in conflict that pops up because managers are agents, right? They're hired to work for the owners, the shareholders. And the problem gets even worse because of something called asymmetric information, which is really just a fancy way of saying managers know a lot more about the company's day-to-day health than the shareholders do. This creates a real opportunity for managers to maybe prioritize their own job security or their bonuses over what's actually best for the owners. To see just how devastating the agency problem can be, we only need to look at the Steinhoff scandal. This was a massive global retail company that, on the surface, seemed to be flying high. That is until the truth came out. In this case, executives were accused of inflating the company's value, basically acting in their own self-interest. When the accounting irregularities were finally revealed, the result was absolutely catastrophic. The share price just collapsed, wiping out over 100 billion rand. That's billions of dollars in value, and destroying over 60% of the company's market cap in a single day. A textbook and truly tragic example of the agency problem.
So, what's our key takeaway from all this? The financial manager isn't just an accountant. They are a company's financial architect. Their true goal isn't just hitting some quarterly profit target, but building sustainable, long-term value.
And to do that means being a master navigator of risk, of ethics, and of that complex, messy web of human interests. Which leaves us with a final, lingering question to think about. In a world of competing interests and personal ambition, is it truly possible for one person to serve their company, its shareholders, and their own conscience all at the same time? Thanks for watching.